Welcome back, BJ the Brave here with another deck guide for you. So what I wanted to do with this one, guys, is you've probably already seen my Ultramarine mid-range deck guide, which is on the channel. If you haven't seen that, feel free to go and check that out. What that represents is a really strong meta deck that, you know, you can't fail to go wrong with. But obviously for a lot of people, the game's in early access, you're just starting out. Maybe this is your second faction and you've already got a decent collection for another faction, and now you're building up with this one. So what I wanted to do is kind of take a look at how could you quite quickly start with a deck that is obviously not going to be top of the meta, but it's going to be good enough to kind of start to understand the style of gameplay that you're aiming for. As you get better cards, more of the epics, more of the legendaries, you can obviously sub out and upgrade the deck towards that meta deck. So let's walk through what we've got. So to start with, we've got Uriel Ventress. This is the starting hero. It's a really good starting hero, by the way. It's one of the better starting heroes, so that's good. Uriel has a Master of the Fleet as his talent, which enables him to deal 1 damage to an enemy and adjacent units. Now, the ability to ping in this game is really powerful. I think the more the game goes on, the more people are going to realize this. And this is what makes Uriel actually a really good starting leader. Because if you can deal 2 damage, all of a sudden combined with his power, you can do 3 damage, etc. So you can clear things off. The other thing you can do is where you're playing Eldar, for example, and you kill units, you can clear Spirit Stones really easily with it. And similarly with Necrons, you can clear out the Remnants to stop them from re-raising their dead. So we've got Uriel Ventress. Now what we're going to do in this build is we're going to start out with quite a low curve. So we're going to play the Octavia Infiltrator. Now this is a rare card, so you'll notice in this deck that I don't have any legendaries, and I only have, I believe, 2 epics, 2 or 3 epics. It's a very small amount, so that you can quickly build this deck. First few epic cards you do receive quite early on in the campaign, so you'll be able to get a few wild cards and immediately make this deck. So the first card we've got is the Octavia Infiltrator. Now this card comes with Rally, Blind an enemy. It is a super powerful card, and when you're first starting out, this is a card to get used to, because by blinding an enemy unit or troop, or sometimes even the leader, that enables all your troops to trade for free. In other words, you're damaging them, they're not damaging you back. So to start to get used to that mechanic very early on in your collection is going to set you up to play the game effectively with the Ultramarine build. So I think this is a really key rare card to start out with. Okay, so moving on, we've got Scout. Scout is pretty simple. It's another ping. Now obviously it deals 1 damage. It's Rally. It's not random, so you can choose where that one goes. So you can use it to clear out units, to control the board early, or to even sometimes to finish the enemy off when you just need that extra bit of reach. But what's good is combining the Scout with Uriel Ventress, it means that you can, between those abilities, you can actually clear out something that has 2 health. So the Scout is more powerful when combined. Assault Intercessor, so this just gives you a really nice 2-drop. You can play it early. It also gives you a roadblock because it's got Vanguard. It's got 3 health, so the enemy hero can't just clear the unit instantly. They have to put some resources into it. We've got 2 blank shots. Again, this is a rare card, but it actually comes in the starter pack, I think. So you actually deal 2 damage, great for clearing, and it draws a card. So another really great tempo card or control card. 7th Company Bite, this is a common card, and it's a really good card. It's 3 mana, you can drop it, it deals 2 damage. Again, combined with Uriel's ability, that means we can clear something that had 3 damage. And it then sits there as a body on the board, often needing clearing, so it trades for 2 to 3 damage as well. So really good tempo card. Next up, we've got the Primus Interceptor. Now this is, for me, one of the best 3-drops in the game. It's a flanking flying unit, which are always super powerful because they can only be attacked by other flyers or by ranged attack. And what this guy allows you to do with his 4 ranged attack is clear off pretty much any early board minion. And if combined with Octavia Infiltrator, that combination on turn 4 is super powerful and can really turn the tempo for you. Then we've got 2 Death from Aboves. Now this is the remember earlier I said we have invested in some epics. I think for me this would be the first epic we invested, and the reason for this is that when you develop the deck into a top tier meta deck, this will be your finisher. So being able to play Death from Above onto the enemy face as a finisher, so you can get them down to like 10 and then you can hit them with 2 of these. I think getting used to that mechanic early on, it also in a pinch can act as really good removal. So I think the only epics, or the first epics I would include and build, or craft should I say, would be the Death from Aboves. And again, I think they come in the campaign, one does anyway. Next up we got the Honor Guard. This one is again only a rare, and it is a really great Vanguard, so we can act as another roadblock. It trades effective, it's got fantastic stats all round. And we got the Primus Invader. Now again, when you're early game, I mean, I really like this card. I often find myself, even in meta decks, strongly considering running this, because for 4 mana it's got 5 health. For me that's like a magical number. When the health is 1 more than the actual energy, I feel like that is a really good sign. So I also think it's got great trading potential there. With the 5 it can deal with enemy flyers really well, so it's actually just a really solid card. So we're going to run 2 of those because they're common cards, and that rounds out our kind of 4-drop bodies. So these 2, the Honor Guard and the Primus Invader, are really going to help us control that kind of start of the middle game. We've obviously got the Storm Ravens in there because that gives us some AoE, so we can start to build a strategy and strategize around when we're going to play AoE and clear. Again, Storm Raven in this deck, it says 2 damage to all enemies, but if we combine that with Ventress's talent, that means that we can actually do 3 damage to 3 units and 2 to the rest, so it actually ups your AoE potential a little bit. In the 5 slots, we've gone for Apothecary Polixis. Now, we're not leaning too heavily into Codex at this stage, because we don't have some of the epic cards that have the Codex ability, and we don't have the Insight card that's a 0 mana epic, which allows us to really break the Codex mechanic. So without those cards, we're not leaning too heavy in. However, this is a common card. It's a really good body. It's a really strong body for 5 mana. You get good health, you get good stats on both the melee and the range, so it's hard to kind of play around. And it does give us just a little bit of heal as well, whether that's healing up a unit or healing up our boss, which is Mr. Uriel over here. Then we got for 2 Inspired Retribution, destroy an enemy troop. Nice, simple, hard removal, so it doesn't matter what card we're playing up against in the game, this is really going to help with those hard removal situations in a pinch. Then our other 5 drops, in terms of troops, we've gone for the Primaris Judicature. So this is pretty strong because it gives us yet another Vanguard. That's now the 3rd Vanguard unit we've got on the deck, so we've got some pretty good defense already in this build. It's got a high amount of health, and the Codex ability is really strong. Stunning in this game is really powerful, and it's a really an enabler really to sort of take over the tempo of the game. So I think having 2 of these is a fantastic choice for our 5-drop slot. Moving on to our 6 drops, we've gone for the Inceptor Sergeants. So again, we're only a rare option, but these are fantastic, super powerful. 6 health, flying and flank. They're like the bigger brothers of the Primaris Inceptors that we talked about earlier. So again, the same can be said for combining those with the Octavia Infiltrator to get a really powerful trade where you get to hit them and they don't get to hit you back. Now, the one other epic that I put in this deck, and to be honest, this is optional, you don't have to play it, but for me, I just felt like having just like 1 Angels of Death just gives you that, if you're slightly behind on the board, it just gives you that ability to come back. And so I think on top of the Death from Above, this is the only other epic that I've included in the deck. So I would go ahead and feel very confident in crafting this, because to be honest, it's in all the meta decks, so it's not like you're going to replace this one. So I would go ahead and craft that, and then that is it. There's just 3 epics in the entire deck. Last but not least, a rare option, we've gone for 1 Repulsor Executioner. So again, in a beginner deck, we're probably not going to finish the game quite as early as we would if we'd completely maximized our card collection. So we're more likely to get to that turn 10. And the thing about this card, it can really help you finish the game. Really help, yeah. It's a massive beast of a unit, right, with the 12 health and the 10 aerial damage. But more importantly, on rally, it deals 8 damage, sorry, to an enemy troop. So we can remove even quite a large enemy troop immediately, and we can then next turn set up smashing something for 12 damage, usually face, but even if we have to hit like a Vanguard unit, the 4 blast will carry over and hit the things to either side. So that is the deck. So let's get into a game and see how it goes. And we've got a Uriel versus Uriel match. Okay, so what we've got here is quite a nice curve in terms of our 3, 4, 5 and 6. I think though we're going to put the 6 back for now. Ideally getting our 1-drop Octavias would be nice. If he doesn't play something on turn 3 though, what we can do is we can use our Hive Factory, which means that the next turn something costs 1 less and we can actually drop one of our 4-drop bodies as we've got 2. So for now we're just going to play our hero power and attack. He's going to do the same. So this is what I mean, that we don't obviously want to play our Primaris Interceptor onto an empty board. So we wouldn't really have a play here. So this is where we're now going to use our Hive Factory, and we're just going to drop this guy. There's no particular pressure right now to put a Taunt up, to put a Vanguard up. So I can happily drop that. Okay, so this time we will drop the Vanguard and we'll attack back and trade back, and you can see we're hugely up on tempo. Okay, so he drops the Tyrannic War Veteran. So one thing we can do here is we can just stun the veteran and we can just go straight past to play for tempo and put a lot of pressure on to end the game. So this is like showing a really good way of using stun, is to kind of make that reach to end the game, knowing that you can't hit back. However, obviously the stun landed on the wrong target, but that's okay. We still had Vanguard up to taunt and trade with that, and now we can simply finish off with style. And there we go. That's why we put this epic in for the 5 reach to win the game. Okay, so as you can see, guys, even with a very, very low budget deck, we can still learn the kind of gameplay and the style of the game, and the gameplay of the faction, sorry, with a budget version of the build. Okay, so you know, obviously if you're trying to play in the top 50 with this deck, then you're going to get outvalued because you're going to be playing against legendaries and epics and more refined builds. But I think what this deck will do is it will give you a really solid curve. It will help you to kind of learn how Ultramarines play, to play a decent amount of kind of like tempo, controlling the board, and be able to finish out games. So hopefully you found that really helpful. Give it a shot. Let me know how it works for you. If you like this type of thing where we budgetify the factions, I'm looking to do like a little series of these, or do them for each of the factions, and let me know which one you'd like to see next. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one.